Greetings everyone, hello and welcome to Anno Pax Romana, how to make money in this game. This game offers a lot of different ways to make coin, and I want to show you a bunch of them, if not all of them, to show you how you can make your economy into a stable powerhouse where you can earn coin in all the various stages. Let's go. The most basic form of income is in taxes, and taxes, I mean providing goods and services to your people. So we're looking at a smaller town here right now with tier 1 and tier 2 residences, and these guys here, well, they're gonna pay me taxes, and you can actually find this not by clicking on the residences themselves. You can find this up here in the island income. So this is the money coming in from this specific island, and it varies of course from island to island. You also have your global income, that's your total balance of all the islands combined with all your production and all your ships. Now looking at this, we can see that from residences we're gonna make 23,000 coin right now and 7,000 out of area effects and specialists. When we're looking at the island income, we can have a more detailed look into where the money comes from. And in this case here, we can see from the needs of fish, public services and tunics, we do get money in right now. This is further divided into area effects that we're also going to have a look at real quick. So providing goods is your #1 priority. We can see here, for example, that the sardines we produce right now for my Libertus residences is producing me 1 coin in addition per residence that we get out of this good. And you can have a certain amount of them. Look at that. Porridge, for example, does not give me income. The same goes with beer. That actually gives me 1 coin. If we're closing it down and looking down here to the public services, I can see the market is giving me +1 income and the tavern would not be giving me any income. So if you want to get stable on your economy first, I urge you to, well, first invest into buildings that give you money instead of, let's say, happiness. Here we can see the tunics gives me a +2 coin income per building that we get out of this. The Pileus gives me +1 in addition. The higher your tiers, the more demands we have and the more choices you have. For example, here I would have the choice between bread now and garum for my tier 2 plebeians. And I can see that garum gives me +2 income, whereas bread only gives me 1. Bread, however, gives you more population. But don't forget, the population doesn't automatically give you more taxes, only if you provide a good or a service to them as well. Don't also forget that production costs you money in the form of maintenance. So if I'm clicking on one of my flax farms here, we can see that we have a maintenance of 10 denarii per minute that we pay for this one right now. So if you want to make some coin, well, you need to provide goods first that provide you a lot of money. The higher the residence tier, the more ways of generating money you have at your disposal. Cheese, for example, is very profitable as it would give me 3 additional coin. Now, taxes are not the only way of getting money in, and it's by far your most lucrative way, but there's other ways as well that count just as well. Besides providing the goods and the services to the residences themselves, you also have area of effects. That is the second tier here, area of effects and specialists. Now, area of effects, that's your production buildings that you can add that add attributes to the surrounding area. So for example, in the tier 1 tree already, you get the spinner as your very first building here. And as you can see, the spinner has a +1 coin and +1 knowledge in its overlay. So if we move, for example, over the residences here, we can see that in its circular area of effect, we do get +1 coin affecting those residences. So for example, if I move now these houses here away to get me my spinner in, we will see that I'm getting now this coin immediately into my island income. Island income is 954 right now. Placing this one here boosts my island income now with the effect once this building is working. Don't forget that it needs to work. Just placing it here will not make much of a difference. However, not every building gives you income. For example, the porridge stand here does not have an area of effect attribute. So this one here wouldn't make sense to build in the city. Rather, you have it outside in an industrial zone most likely. The area of effect, for example, is also the marketplace. That would give me 1 coin and 1 population per building. So if I place this one over here, and just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to delete this here right now, and then I place the market, I will also have a nice boost in my island income immediately, and the population boost immediately. This though is different than the goods that you provide with that now. We will also get an additional 1 coin and 1 population out of the market in the Libertus residence here. So over time, you get a lot of buildings that have these area of effects. You also have buildings that don't have them, but you can add them immediately to them by, for example, researching it. The fishing hut is one of those examples here. So when we look at the research, all the way up here in the very first tier that you get available in the beginning of the game, the economy tree, you have those two here. You have the spinner that gives you an additional area of effect for knowledge, that's your research points. And then over here right away, you have the fishing hut income effect +3. That means every fishing hut that you build now gives you +3 coin in addition to the surrounding area. However, these bonuses do not stack. So for these fishing huts, we only get this effect once, but it's something at least. 3 coin is a lot of money. You can see this here, for example, the area of effect island income for the fish is 222 taxes in addition. Another way of getting more money out of your residences directly is using specialists. For example, in your villa or also in the extension building, the Officium that you can build then throughout your city. You can add specialists that you find on quests and that you can find in loot from destroying ships, or also simply at the NPC's harbors. You can find them here in the item tree. There are specialists, you can purchase them, and these specialists you can equip in your villa, for example, and over here they give you then the bonus. This one here, for example, gives me the prestige bonus for all the residences in its surrounding area, and this bonus is immediate. The same goes with the health bonus and of course the income bonus. There's lots of specialists doing this for you. So, especially in the beginning, you should prioritize producing goods and services that bring you money, and also use specialists that you find, but don't look or don't buy specialists early on, because that will just be a money pit. Passive trade is another early opportunity for you to make some coin. Now you will notice on the map that there's a lot of passive traders out there. These are the white dots. These are coming from, well, the NPCs mostly, and that is, for example, Diana, and that is also Valeria. These are the islands that you can find on the map, and these guys are then, well, trading around all the islands. Now, how can you enable passive trade? You're going to one of your trading posts at the harbor area right away. And in here, we are looking for surplus. We're looking for something that is going up steeply. Like here, it's my tunics or also my fish. Going for the fish, we click on that and we can then find here a button that means sell. This good will be sold to other parties within designated limits. Clicking on this one here, you can now designate an amount of goods that are being sold with the minimum you can designate. So I'm going to say, okay, we have a total storage available of 450. My minimum is going to be 200. Everything above that number is being sold to passive traders stocking here. Bear in mind, this is quite an unreliable way of making money. So we have a trader here, but it's not guaranteed that she's gonna sell it now. Oh, look at that. Actually, she purchased just 250 tons of my fish now. That leads to a lot of additional income, but that was also just a lucky chance now. Sometimes they trade with you, sometimes they don't. It really depends on a bit of luck as well. And we just earned 1000 denarii. There is a little message coming up over that ship, showing you how much money you made out of that. And this is an easy way because, well, the surplus would just be lying around in my storage. But if I have a surplus production, we can just sell this one again. So, in fact, you should enable passive trade for all your trade posts where you know you're going to have a lot of surplus. It's especially useful for construction materials because with so many islands to manage, you will not be able to spend all the construction materials over there at all times. So having a certain amount of construction materials available makes sure that you always have something ready to build, but everything else is then being sold. Like I have a huge tiles and a huge wood production usually, so I can say, okay, once I'm above 350, I can sell the rest. It's being produced endlessly anyway, and I still have enough materials left to build whatever I need. Passive trade is great and it can be extended. The NPC characters are trading, but it doesn't need to be just them. You can also go into your diplomacy menu, go into one of your opponents that you're playing with, enter negotiations and open up a trade treaty. Once you have a trade treaty enabled with them, they will also start docking at your harbors and trade with you. Now, passive trade is one thing, active trade is another way of making money. And we're looking at one of my opponents here for now. We have a trade treaty with her. That means passive trade is enabled right away because she will now dock at my harbor and try to purchase goods that she needs. Sarah Nitu here. Now, we can also click on her harbor and we can see now wares that she offers and also wares that she would purchase. The same counts also for the NPCs that we have over here. Now, they are also purchasing goods, as you can see, endlessly. right? Whereas, for example, here with Sauronito, it doesn't mean it's endless. She only needs 250 ox, for example, or 215 horses. Once this has been used, it will need time to replenish. So this is not endless, but it's usually very lucrative. So looking at horses here, 64 per ton is a lot of money since horses are easy to produce. On the other hand, the NPCs trade endlessly but at a lower price. So these guys here would be perfect to enable an active trade route. You can open a trade route with them and you can click on their islands directly. And then I click on my main island, for example, and they're basically gonna purchase whatever I tell them to. So I can open up one of my ships here now. I can start, for example, trading surplus iron ore and sell it at her island. And this enables now an active trade route to her that will work as long as I want. Bear in mind, if you enable an active trade route that is selling goods, that means these goods will always be sold. Make sure that you have goods available. For this, go into the iron ore that I'm selling now and set a minimum stock, because we don't want to run out of iron ore just because I'm selling the surplus. So I'd say, okay, let's always have at least 300 iron ore in my market available. Everything above that gets actively sold to the NPC for profit. Actively trading with the NPCs is fine, but once again, it's something that only trickles in a bit of money depending on your surplus. Another way of making great amounts of money early on as well is contracts. You can click on the lighthouses of each NPC. So in this case here, it's 2 NPCs that we have available, and each one of them offers you contracts, usually with very high amounts of goods, like the sardines here, 435 tons, or also 5 crates. If we accept this contract here, we would get, for example, a specialist, the prime mantler, and in addition, we would get 21,000 denarii out of this one here. These contracts refresh in a certain amount of time, like it's usually 20 to 25 minutes in total, and once that time runs out, you get new contracts. Some of them are extremely lucrative for easy goods like tiles or logs that you have to make a quick cash. So if you need money, always check out those trading posts here and just look what they need. Give it to them. The cool thing is you can then also sell the specialists right away that you get as a reward. So in this case here, we would get a legendary specialist plus the 22,000 denarii. Selling a legendary specialist gives you usually also a lot of money. So this is a much more money than it seems at first. Another way of making money, and that is something that was actually really lucrative in Anno 1800, because ships didn't cost you any money to build. In Anno Pax Romana, ships actually have a construction cost. So if we're looking at the shipyard here right now, we do need to pay, for example, 9,000 for a Queen Kareem civilian tier 3 ship. However, you can still sell those ships. You get ships also out of quests. And in this case here, all the way down here, we have a command, and that is selling. This is enabled once you get with your ship to a harbor area of a Diana, for example, an imperial harbor it needs to be. And here we can now say sell that ship for 7,000 coin. This is especially useful when you need a quick amount or quick cash. If you're, for example, close to bankruptcy, you can sell a few of your ships to make easy and quick money out of that. This money can be increased that you make out of that with the diplomacy, with the relationship with your emperor. So when we look at that, for example, we can see all the way here in the reputation tab, the higher we go, the better it gets, because we get better prices for goods and items for all traders. This is then very important when we want to sell ships, for example, but also goods and items. So get a better relationship with your emperor as well. Another way of making money is by saving money, and the game gives you lots of options in this case. It's not only the specialists that reduce, for example, the costs of industrial buildings that you can use, it's also tech that you can unlock to, well, save you money. And one of those techs is quite early on in the game, in the military tree, right here, the very first one that we have, and that's the encampments, provisional castra. You will need a lot of soldiers during the course of your game, and this encampment option is really useful because when we look at that, the archer here costs me maintenance cost of close to 100 denarii right now. But now I have the option to encamp them, and I can quickly go ahead with this. And we can now see the archers that are encamped only cost me 20 denarii. That's only a fifth of their standing army cost. So you really should go ahead with this. Especially when you have a bigger army, this leads to several thousand denarii you can save this way. Beside the encampment tax, there's lots of various tax that can further save you money down the road. A few ways of those are, for example, extending the ranges of your service buildings, thus resulting in you needing to build fewer of them, because every service building also costs you maintenance cost. The same applies for economy tax like this one here, the better bellows. Fuel efficiency is increased by 20% for all coal-dependent buildings. Well, that means you need less coal, and with that, less coal production buildings. Other tax include like the priorities here. The upkeep cost of all your warehouses is reduced by 10%. And don't forget, you need a lot of warehouses in this game. This adds up a lot. Paving roads is another way of saving money because it increases the range of all your service buildings and allows for faster transportation. That means you need less warehouses and less service buildings to cover your whole island, and with that save further maintenance cost. If you're in the mid and end game, there is also tax like the well-ordered warehouses, for example, halving the costs of all your warehouses. And you can even unlock new buildings like the gambling house, and this one here flat out boosts all the surrounding buildings by +3 coin. That's a lot of money. Religion is also your friend to save more money. All these gods provide you bonuses, and indirectly with that, of course, you can save money. For example, Ceres boosts all your food production buildings, and thus you need fewer of them. It also gives additional population, that's more tax money coming in. Neptune is amazing for money generation because all the ships you build from now on costs you less money in upkeep. Mars is great if you want to go with soldiers because all the additional soldiers you build from now on cost you less upkeep. And I also really like Mercury here because he has a special trait, the tradecraft. Passive trade is now more profitable, and with this you can turn passive trade into real powerhouse income for you. So these are the various mechanics that you can save and make more money in Anno Pax Romana. I hope you found this helpful. Enjoy the journey. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.